Hi everyone, Christian Ayers here with my third episode of Christian's Conversations with. Last week I was joined by Bryce DeArmond, a dynamic leader in enterprise sales, strategic partnerships, and go-to-market strategy. With over 20 years of experience, Bryce has consistently driven multi-million dollar growth by aligning cross-functional teams, optimizing sales processes, and building high-impact partner ecosystems. His track record is impressive. A $6.2 million revenue boost through a standardized sales playbook and a $60 million in pre-sales secured through enterprise go-to-market pivots, just to name a couple. Bryce is passionate about building and scaling high-performing teams, and he thrives in fast-paced, high-growth environments. Outside of work, he's a proud husband and father of four, a leadership mentor, barbecue enthusiast, and he loves his classic cars. We sat down for a little over a half an hour today and discussed just what he's going through, what the job search is like, his history. So in the next few minutes, you're going to see some highlights from that great conversation, and I appreciate Bryce taking the time. I learned some new things. I'm hoping you're going to learn some new things. If you do want to take advantage and listen to the whole conversation, it will be available both on YouTube and Spotify under Christian's Conversations with. So sit back and enjoy, and hopefully episode number 4 will be coming out shortly. What's the biggest difference from the last time you were in a true job search to today's world, and how did you have to adjust to it?
Technology has come a long way, AI, and the big thing I'm seeing in the marketplace right now is these job seeker influencers. There's a ton of people out there that want to tell you about how to get a job. They're going to sell you a $1,500 course about these tools that you need and these emails that you can send and these resumes that are guaranteed to get you in front of the right people. And the more and more I've kind of gone through and I've done the research, I've looked at what influencers are saying, I'm doing some of my own research. I'm A/B testing resumes, I'm A/B testing emails. It's about networking. It's about who you know, and more importantly, who knows you. Who's willing to give you a recommendation? Who's willing to put their name behind you and either give you an internal referral or connect you to the right person, whether it be the recruiter or the hiring manager. I've read some articles lately that roles are being posted, and within 24 hours, are having anywhere from 500 to 2,000 applicants apply to that role. Now, the applicant tracking systems might say 90% of them are qualified for this role, but when a recruiter actually gets in there and they start digging through it, they find maybe 10% is qualified to actually accomplish the role successfully. So they're having to sift through so much more data to find the right person. If you can come in and somebody can hand deliver your resume and say, hey, I personally recommend this person, it gets past all of the noise that they're seeing on these applications and puts you in the right position. And it's networking with people not only in your area but in your industry, and then also not just networking but engaging. I do post a lot, but then I also go. I'm really into partnerships, and so I found a lot of guys that are in partnerships, and I'm reading their content and I'm commenting on their stuff to show support of them and to also validate what they're saying, as well as add my added value to what they're commenting on. All of that comes up when recruiters looking at your LinkedIn profile and they see that it's not just a resume at that point. You're actually showing value, you're showing your knowledge, and you're showing what you've done.
You also talked about in one of your posts about a sales playbook you put together when you were a director, because you saw the team was performing but maybe not doing it the right way. Was it something you created specifically for that team, or is this something you have used like in other roles in the past?
Yeah, so I say when it comes to sales, the process is all pretty relevant. It's all pretty much the same across the board. The product at the end of the day is what really differentiates your engagement and how you go through that sales process. So they actually brought me in to build their sales division from scratch before I came on full time, and they didn't really have the guardrails of, okay, when a client comes in and they're looking for our services, how do you start from A and go to Z? So they didn't have any of that. And so I've, over the last 20 years, have created in my idea of just a basic process of what that looks like and how to flow through that. So I took some of my experience and stuff that I've implemented and used at other organizations and picked up along the way from other leaders and from books and webinars and conferences, and just put together some guardrails for this really junior team. And they were very ambitious. Our team was actually outsourced. They were in the Philippines, but man, I'll tell you what, these guys work harder than some Ivy League graduates that I've had historically. They just had the drive, they had the passion, and then putting some guardrails around them, giving them some direction, giving them a lane to travel in, really helped guide them in the right direction. Once the playbook was built and they were trained on that process, then it was, man, the feet to the ground, and they just took off and they ran because they knew how to go in the direction. Everything before was just kind of like, oh, this seems like the right fit, or this seems like the right way, but there was a lot of miscommunication, a lot of misalignment. As soon as you start making that communication seamless and having those processes be aligned, then you can replicate, duplicate, and then take it to the next level and expand and grow and continue to grow. So yeah, I think the playbook really set us in the right direction and gave them the right direction that they needed to move forward and be successful.
Another post that you had, which I think is big for people that are in sales, was it caught my eye because it says how I lost a big deal. And the first thing I saw, because we talk about it all the time, I think you had what you thought was a decision maker, on board, boom, wanted everything, and then down the line you said, well, they weren't the decision maker, and that was, that's the number one thing we would try to remember as reps and teach our reps. Hey, you got to make sure you're talking to the right person all the time.
Yep.
And we've seen so many deals fall out because when we got to, okay, it's supposed to close by the 20th. Well, they need to talk to this person.
Yeah.
What did you learn from that, and how did it make you better going forward?
Yeah, it's people always ask you in interviews, like, tell me about a time that you closed a big deal, and I wanted to be vulnerable. I wanted to show, like, hey, I've learned not only from my successes but from my failures. A leader that I worked with for years in retail, his name's Michael Forrest at Samsung. He had a quote that says, "Try, win, lose, learn." So when you try, you win. If you lose, you always got to learn from it. And so I wanted to talk about a deal that I lost and be, vulnerable and talk about the ebbs and flows that went through that. It's probably one of my more scared quotes and posts, because then that's on there and people are gonna be like, oh, you lost a big deal. But it's like, okay, a good learner and a good leader is going to learn from their mistakes, and they're going to learn from the areas that they lost in. And so it is taking a step back and looking at it and finding, okay, yeah, am I talking to the right person? I took everything from that, and then I had to tweak and make sure that all of the things that I took to in my notes were then going to be answered. Okay, yeah, you say you have the power to be the decision maker, but do you really? Can you sign the contract? If they say no, okay, then who is going to sign the contract, and how do I get to them? Or do I need to give you the assets that you need to go sell them to then get them in place? And then understanding, yeah, is the budget there? Are we in your buying cycle? Where do I need to be to get this to a yes? You don't count your chickens before they've hatched. And we get so ingrained in sales that as soon as you hear that yes, you're like, yes, like, this is done. I've got this in the bag. And there's so many steps to the finish line where it can fall apart. And so it's understanding, okay, not only do I have this one in the pipeline, but I've got 2 or 3 others in the pipeline just like it. And you can't always count on a deal being closed. I've even had some deals fall apart even after a signature has been signed because of a lack of budget, or somebody didn't have the authority to actually sign an agreement. And so it's learning from those, it's adjusting your approach, but at the same time, you got to have grace, you got to have understanding. You can't get frustrated. I've told my sales team, for years, you can't take it personal. 9 times out of 10, if somebody says no, or if somebody, doesn't have the budget, or if it doesn't work out, it's not because of you, it's because of the product at the end of the day. And so many people get defeated by the no, the no, the no, that it becomes an emotional thing. And so it's like, okay, well, how can we learn from that? What can you take away from those no's that can help you get to that yes? Because that will help you get to more yeses. And then obviously, the more opportunities you have for no's, you increase your opportunities for yeses.